You went to South Carolina, finished up at Newberry, obviously got your degree in communications. So I'd assume, that was kind of what you wanted to do. But, I did some play-by-play stuff when I was in college, just kind of for the SECN baseball team, which shout out to them, by the way. But I'm curious, for you, was it always something, you knew you wanted to do that? I know that I was looking over your accolades, 1998 Newscaster of the Year by the South Carolina Associated Press. So again, you were always in that communications world, but just how did that come about, I guess? Like, did you know that play-by-play was what you wanted to do, or were you just kind of like, hey, let me get the degree, get into that sphere, and kind of whatever happens?
Well, no, not really. At first, I wanted, as a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. And then I wanted to, realized I wasn't very good in science or math. So I said, well, let me change that. And so like freshman year in high school, I was like, well, I guess I'll, be a businessman or something, and major in business and go to Carolina because I was a lifelong Gamecock fan. But then I just happened to be in the right place, right time, and grew up in a small town, Batesburg, Leesville, South Carolina. And my sophomore year in high school, a job came available, after school job at the local radio station, little small AM country and Western radio station in town. And I happened to get it, and it just stuck with me and loved it. And I was always a big sports fan and played baseball or sat on the bench, really, to be honest with you, and kept the scorebook and coached first base. But, it just kind of fell into my lap, and I loved it. And it just, stuck with me. And I said, you know what, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And, it came about where I spent a lot of time in school, was at USC for 6 years, didn't finish here, transferred over to Newberry and got my degree in communications after a year and a half at Newberry. But then got lucky and got a job at WIS, and one thing led to another, and kept working at the local radio station as play-by-play voice for Batesburg Louisville High School football, and just kept paying my dues kind of, and meeting people and being in the right place at the right time. And South Carolina High School League Network started, was able to get that. And then that kind of led to greener pastures, so to speak, with the opportunity that came about with the SEC Network.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely very much a pay your dues business, right? I mean, it's one of those where you really have to cut your teeth per se, and there's a lot of free work or work that is not the most desirable, which again, no slight to anybody, but I think it was Mike Yuba was telling me he was like covering middle school girls volleyball or something like that, like in Mississippi or something crazy. But it's a very like pay your dues business. Well, I'll ask you this. Was it something that you felt like in the beginning you were sort of a natural at, or did you feel like you really evolved as you went along?
No, I felt like, I had to, to put a golf analogy to it, I had to go to the Hooters store and then, excel there, and
right.
then, keep making those steps and keep putting the reps in. And I really didn't feel like I was ready until I was ready, I guess. And you're always trying to get better. You're only as good as your last broadcast, really.
Right.
So it was something that, I wanted to make sure that, I kept working at it. And it kind of came about, around 2015, 2016, I said, you know what, I just want to do this full time, and really make it my career and really dive into it as deeply as I possibly can, and move it that way. And just, you keep working, you keep getting the reps in, and you just never say no, really. If a job opens up, you say, yep, I'll take it. I'll do the best I can. And you try to put in as much effort beforehand, as far as research goes, preparation. A lot of people don't realize, you just don't show up into the broadcast booth. It takes a lot, beforehand. It's behind the scenes. I probably put in, for a 3.5 hour baseball game, I would say at least 15 hours, maybe sometimes 20 of prep work just before that.
And that's a lot of like studying the rosters and the coaches and the trends and the statistics and all that stuff that, again, you just kind of spout off on the broadcast, but people don't realize like that's stuff I kind of relate with, putting together notes for the podcast and stuff like that. There's a lot more to it than just getting behind the mic or whatever, getting on the headset and just kind of going. Like, you're obviously, because if you're not prepared, it's going to be painfully obvious on that broadcast.
Yeah. And then this year, you've got to factor in what's going on with COVID. And so we're required to take twice a week, We have to do a COVID test. So, you have to add that into the mix, and I have to drive to Columbia. I live in Vicksburg, Leesville, and you have to, make that drive, drop off your sample, and find out if you've made it safely so you can work this week or not.